Hey everyone, Mr. Happy here, and today we're going to be taking a look at some updates that were made to the patch 6.2 promotional site for Final Fantasy XIV. This basically just includes a few images for a few different pieces of content and a brief description of either what has happened before or what is about to happen in this coming patch. We've only got a few of them for this update, but I say we get started. Now, first of all, when we scroll down, we see under New Story, it says, "What secrets slumber in darkness eternal." This is not just referring to the patch artwork with Pandemonium, where they've already been talking about something sleeping underneath Pandemonium, or something laying dormant, a secret that's being kept, but also, of course, to our deep dive into the 13th, which seems to be the center of the next point of the story that we are going to. And it makes sense, after doing the whole galactic threat thing, it makes sense to look at something that's a little bit more focused, but it is one of the major threats of the entirety of all the shards and the source. It could single-handedly destroy what remains if left completely unchecked. So, with that, we have a description while these images actually rotate. 5 millennia ago, the Great Worm Asdaya vanished into the void, and for long years, Vritra has despaired of being reunited with his dear sister. With the encouragement of his people, however, he has found the resolve to search for her and sets forth with the Warrior of Light for a world engulfed in darkness. I cannot speak today. I've done so many takes of that first little bit, you have no idea. So looking at the images that the site actually has, first of all, one of Varshan, which is the little avatar of Reacher, the one he uses to roam amongst his people without flying around like a giant dragon. Then we have the Ironworks. Now, this had to happen. I mean, with how much experience the Ironworks has with the Crystal Tower and the World of Darkness, there were no better experts to bring in on this than Sid, Biggs, Wedge, the rest of Noah, and of course, Nero, who has had a little bit too much experience with what can happen to you when you visit the World of Darkness, especially when you have open wounds like he did. And finally, we see the Warrior of Light actually meeting this avatar face to face. Now, I actually thought they would keep this kind of as a character in the background for a while. Maybe it's because I relate it to Xenos, and, Xenos was a background character for quite some time. He was doing things, we knew about him, our character knew about him, but we were just dealing with so much going into Shadowbringers, in Shadowbringers itself, until they finally started bringing everything to a head for Endwalker. But it looks like we'll be meeting it face to face, and probably after we finish the Fell Court of Troya, as it looks like it's probably just wandering around somewhere in there. Either way, I'm super excited for this patch. It's crazy to think that after they ended the original arc that it'd already be so excited for the next one, but point 1 got us off to a good start, and point 2 looks like it'll be continuing that trend. New challenges. Island Sanctuary. Is that a challenge? Okay. Find sanctuary in an island paradise abundant with wildlife, where crops may be sown and minions let to roam. What will you learn in nature's embrace, and what will you create from this newfound inspiration? Make ready to set sail, for your hideaway awaits. Now, they tweeted these two images, and these are really, really good. This looks like the beach we were shown with the scale when we watched the previous live letter. And you can see it's far more, I guess, wildlifey than I expected. Yeah, I knew it was an island, it wasn't supposed to be this flat and proper, no landscape area that was going to be a blank canvas, but I still didn't expect to get like almost a Hullbreaker Isle kind of thing going on here with all the different trees, and you can see the little boat over there and the rock formations, and it actually makes me excited to explore the island, which more and more convinces me that we're not getting any exploration content in this expansion. They've already basically not said, they've said we're not getting it by not saying that we're getting it this late into the patch already. We'd normally know about something like that if it was already going to be happening. But this looks to be filling that void. You can also see a little hut over there on the right. I'm going to assume that's our hut, or maybe, I don't know. I just assume that's part of our encampment over there, like the starting point for our encampment. And then we get another look over here, this giant mountain off in the distance, the water. They're keeping the wildlife, not in these images, but we are at least seeing the flora and the water and just the landscape itself. And it looks really, really pretty. Now, there's something more interesting about Island Sanctuary. Notice the patch it says it's releasing in. That says 6.2, ladies and gentlemen. That would imply it's not part of the delayed content 6.2x, 6.21, 6.25, 6.26. No, that says 6.2. So this might go live at the end of this month in August. That 1 week you're waiting for Savage, you'll have an island paradise all to yourself. I'd be surprised if this was an error and they meant to put something else, but I'll take it. I didn't want this to release at the same time as Criterion, so if this could release immediately, even if I'll be busy getting ready for raid stuff, that's good for me. I'm glad to have that, so bring it on. Speaking of the Felcourt of Troya from earlier, also patch 6.2. Another thing that makes me more confident, MSQ up here said 6.2, this says 6.2. Island Sanctuary, I'm feeling 6.2. We just get a few quick images of it. So one thing about this image real quick, there's light almost coming through the world of darkness, which is weird. You know, that's like the kind of thing you just don't think is going to be there at all. And yet it's there. I wonder if it's a bit more symbolic than that, given that this is a Final Fantasy IV reference. It's just, it's very, it tickles the brain to see light in the world of darkness. We also have some classic enemies from Final Fantasy IV. In fact, these are in a lot of Final Fantasies, but yeah, we expect to see some classic Final Fantasy IV enemies in there. As for the description, having uncovered the Void Gate in the Undersea Treasure Vault, you now seek to use it to travel to the 13th. Beyond the emptiness of the rift awaits a shadowed castle swarming with void scent, and you steel yourself for a hostile reception. In case anyone was questioning whether or not it was in the 13th still, yeah, that pretty much says it. So I'm expecting we'll have to complete this to unlock our trial series. And what our trial series is, or even, I don't even think we're starting a trial series here in 6.2. I think that the trial is going to be tied to the main scenario. And I think that it could be someone we're not expecting. I think a lot of us are expecting the 4 fiends from Final Fantasy IV, the 4 archfiends more specifically. But what if they turn it on a twist? What if it's Golbez from the get-go? I see, the fact that they're keeping it a secret either tells me it's way out of left field, like the Shadow Dragon, like as Dia, like a void possessed as Dia or Golbez, or maybe it's one of the later archfiends like Rubicante and not Scarmiglione or Cagnazzo like people would be predicting. I don't know. The fact that it's a secret makes me really wonder, because if it was the 4 fiends, I feel like that wouldn't be worth keeping a secret at this point, you know, through live letters. And they said they're not telling us until the patch goes live, meaning we'll have to figure it out for ourselves, much like we did with patch 5.3 and like what often happens with expansion launches. So that gets my heart pumping a little bit, even more excited for that. Now this, on the other hand, this is going to be exciting for some and torturous for others. Our next Unreal trial is, of course, Sephiroth, not to be confused with Sephiroth, Veni, Veni, Venias. So Sephiroth was one of the hardest trials we ever had as an extreme trial. He is going to be slightly nerfed in this version. For one, the game has already fixed the whole falling off means permadeath thing. That's not a thing in the game right now. And so for Sephiroth returning, you know, it's not going to be a thing for him either. They're not going to revert it back to that, as much as some people probably wish they would. But also some other things are being changed. We know the ad phase is having some of its damage made a little more lenient, because it is a much tougher ad phase than all the other extreme trials have in terms of outgoing damage. We also know that one of the mechanics, the Earth Shakers, in the original was actually a distance-based mechanic, but the game didn't tell you that. They don't really have a way of describing an Earth Shaker that is or isn't proximity, so they're just getting rid of the proximity element of the Earth Shakers, and maybe there will be some other changes, but I still think there are enough elements in this fight that it'll be A, fun, and B, a whole lot tougher than Ultima has been for the entirety of the last patch. For the description, it's the same as always. In the name of satisfying the foe commander's craving for harrowing tales, you hearken back to your fateful encounter with the dread icon Sephiroth, first pillar of the warring triad. The memory still looms as large in your mind as did the great fiend, stirred from the dreams of vengeance. Then we have new systems, main scenario revisions, just a reminder that there's going to be adjustments to some various pieces of content. For one, Thorn March is going to be getting updated. I don't know if this is just more structured. I can see some people standing off in the distance, and I can see the palm meteors coming down in like smaller locations. It's hard to see what other changes are actually taking place here, because most of the other Moogles, I can only really see one over there on the right-hand side. So I'm not really sure what other changes they made based on this, but we did know that they made some significant changes to Thorn March. So curious to see how that goes. And then this is just an image. Honestly, I love seeing this. Estinian, Alphino, Isael, and us going up against the last boss of Samal and that of, what is it? Is it Tielman? I think it is. Something like that. Consort, the first consort of Nidhogg. Yeah, the fact that just, I'm glad they got the NPCs right. It needed to be the characters from the MSQ for dungeons like this, because the whole adventuring with them thing is crucial to Heavensward storytelling. This actually makes it better. If you were to do it with trust, this encapsulates that feeling so much better. And I'm glad they got it right, and it gives me a lot of hope for the types of trusts and duty supports that we'll see going into the future dungeons past this, into Heavensward, into Stormblood, before finally everything has trust and duty support through the MSQ. As a reminder, Snowcloak, Keeper of the Lake, Samal, the Area, and the Vault are the 5 dungeons being adjusted, as well as Thorn March getting its own adjustments as well. Other than that, it's just the same stuff that we had here at the bottom of the site that we already knew about, so if you need to get caught up on any particular piece of content or news, at the very least, this will tell you all the names of everything. But anyway, that's it for the new stuff on the site. Really exciting, especially the seemingly news that Island Sanctuary is on patch 6.2 day. That has me excited. What do you think? Do you think Island Sanctuary is 6.2, and are you happy about it? No pun intended. And what do you think about the revisions to the MSQ, as well as, of course, Sephiroth and theories on the MSQ itself? Anyway, with that, thank you for watching. Be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and share. And stay tuned. Healer Versus is almost done. I've been swamped and super busy, and I apologize, but it's on the precipice of being complete. Maybe tomorrow. But anyway, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. And until then, take care.